welcome to YouTube Lives. This is the first YouTube Live that I've done, and today's is going to be on everyday omens. And I will start with a realization, a story of a realization that I had this weekend. Definitely having Neptune triggering me right now. I had multiple past life realizations in the last 24 hours that were very different for me than the past life awarenesses that I've been being shown for many years now. Namely, in the concept of that there were lives that I never felt like I needed to remember because there wasn't necessarily anything traumatic or that had to be worked through with them. Because that's predominantly what's always shown up for me until now. I had one brief vision of a past life given to me years ago, and that past life really didn't have a whole lot in it. There was a significant incident that happened within it, but it wasn't traumatic. It wasn't something that I needed to become aware of and try to sit with and move through. But in the last 24 hours, so I've been moving through those past lives for many years now. And that's how past life work has shown up for me. Except for in the last 24 hours, I've started remembering other past lives and remembering very distinct, I guess you would say, good or positive aspects of them. One of them was incredibly vivid. It was very long. I was shown multiple angles of that life, and and then I recorded it. I, journaled everything and did an audio recording of it. But then after that, within a very, very short time period, I was working on the Omen book, and another one came through. And this is why, this is definitely why the Omen book and this wisdom is coming to the surface now, finally, because I worked on it in a past life. So, one of the things that showed up immediately for me was the fact that my grandfather on my maternal side has been a very large influence in my life in a lot of ways. Um, Incredibly brilliant human being, did a lot of patents for the Boeing company, worked for the Boeing company pretty much his entire career. Um, was an avid reader. We had just absolute dumpsters worth of books within his house. When he passed away, we donated a tremendous amount of rare books to the Seattle Public Library. He was extremely abundant in many ways. He was also, I consider, probably a polygamist, even though he never did the act of like marrying himself. He was very much soul focused on his passions. He lived through the Depression, so he gathered and taught me and many other people a lot of amazing information from the turn of the century on survival, sustainability. There was a ton of things that were like going on for many decades for him that he learned some really deep-seated lessons. Sun sign Scorpio. There was just a lot of commonalities. Even my passion for pipes came from this grandfather. And he had told me when I was younger and working on the farm, he had always mentioned a lot of different sayings. And I always thought that they were, just sayings that he learned on the farm, and they could have been from when he was growing up. It's entirely possible because these omens have been being handed down from generation to generation. And the first omen that he told me about when I was a child was the omen, red skies at night, sailors delight, red sky in the morning, sailors take warning. And the reason why I thought that was so significant, hello to anybody entering. The reason why I thought that that was so significant is because I started paying attention as a child after he told this to me to see if we had red skies at night, would the next day be nice? And if we had red skies in the morning, would it, have an impending, like a thunderstorm or rain or something like that? And I immediately saw the comparison in this omen. And I always attributed it to him being a merchant marine and thought, maybe he just gathered it from being in the service or gathered it from the farm. But the reality is that he had been telling me, and so had my other grandparents, especially them that were raised in the Depression, had always been telling me these omens. And I started participating even as a child, and I didn't actually realize it um, until this weekend when I was sitting there working on the Omen book, and I had just had this very, very profound past life, positive past life come through, which I said was very notable because they've always been usually past lives that have traumas and triggers and things that I still have to work through. But this particular past life was so, new in its awareness because it had none of that. It was a very, very beneficial past life. So when this second realization came through, um, basically I saw my grandfather as a very, very old man, and we were in a cave. It was a long time ago. I was helping either gather stones or I was holding a lamp, some kind of like sewn together leather bladder that had oil or something in it that was lit for light. And we were in a cave, and he was very old, white beard, long white hair, and I was relatively young male, probably 14, 15 years old at the oldest. And yeah, so I immediately realized, oh my gosh, not only did he share these omens with me in this lifetime and started helping me remember this wisdom from a very young age in this lifetime, but we'd actually done it before in another past lifetime. And it made so much sense to me because he's been like such a mentor in a lot of ways when I was a child. Like the person that gave me the most beneficial information in my childhood was my grandfather. And it's so true. And I remember so many of his other omens. My grandmother gave me tons of omens as well, but mostly about medicine, herbology. Um, and so it really just surprised me that I had two back to back past life rememberings in a very short time period, and that both of them were very, very beneficial. Um, but that's how I have remembered that I have done this before. I helped him in that life, just in very offset ways, um, be able to chisel information into stone tablets. Um, so yeah, it was a really wonderful realization, and that's what I wanted to bring up here today. First, to kick off, I'm going to sit down here. Um, this YouTube live, and you'll have to forgive me because I'm getting used to this new format and wanting to, hold on, orientation is locked. So I'm trying to figure out, I see that people are in here. One of the things that I've always liked about Instagram lives is that you could have conversations with people and you can receive information from them, but I'm not entirely sure still how things go with YouTube live. So let's see here, live chat. Okay. Okay. Live chat. Thank you for hanging out with me here while I'm trying to figure out what how all of this works. All messages are visible. Chat viewing options. Top chat. Oh, interesting. I am trying to figure out what platforms I want to use and how here. Because, yeah, I'm not entirely sure if I'm going to open up Instagram again, but I want to be able to converse with people. And so if you're stating things, unfortunately, I am not able to see them. I'm trying to figure out how I can see them. Oh, okay. Thanks, Shanice. I'm seeing this now, so thank you. Um, I guess because like I started this live already talking about how I've actually just remembered that I've done this work in a very offset way, not only throughout this lifetime, which is amazing to me because plant spirit's been with me this entire lifetime. My omnidimensional author alternative abilities, the clairs, the mancies, the telepathies, divination, they've all been with me in this lifetime the entire time. And I'm really like coming up with the awareness of the interwovenness between time periods now and how I was already a part of this with people, in this lifetime. So um, yeah, sometimes, I mean, I guess if you're really, really sitting and you're doing a lot of past life work or you're really opening up to the interdimensionality between things, which I absolutely am all the time, because one of the things that I'm going to start putting videos out about is the new literary personage and title that I have been building a canon around, which is called Omnidimensional Authors, or Omnidimensional Authorship. And there's a lot of us, and we've been really using our alternative abilities to produce literary works for a very, very long time, and some very prominent authors and manuscripts in the past. um, but having to do with omens, I would love to hear and continue the conversation about, what, if anything, that you found out about leaves, about tree people, about what has been coming through, because I have a lot of DM conversations that are coming to me through Instagram, but I'm not entirely sure if I really want to be doing lives on Instagram all the time as well. So I guess I'll have to just kind of like watch for comments as they come up here so that I can actually like, talk about different things that have been happening. I did look through. So let me back up a little bit. This Omen book has the universe, so the soul. The subtitle is coming through as Everyday Omens and What Do They Mean? And What They Mean, or something to that. Take time to look into. Oh, okay. Looking into leaf, tree people, omens, but I did on my end. So let me first start by prefacing that this book and my timing, because I'm in between final assignments within my doctoral research. And so I have a couple of months here until the beginning of next year to get this book out there. And my goal is, to have it launch in November, so that it's, before the holiday season. And so, what I've been doing for years since 2020, since I really started communicating on a regular basis with the celestials, they were really adamantly telling me, practice this, practice this, practice this, these omens and these knowings with us. And so I sought out and found from my Babylonian and Sumerian astrologer teacher some of the oldest omens. from Babylonia and Samaria. And that started like the whole research of this particular book. And since then, and all these years now, I've been practicing them on my own. But then I'm now realizing I've been doing it my entire lifetime too, and many other lifetimes. So I've been pulling reference documents and books throughout many cultures and civilizations and histories to bring all of these omens together. So this guidebook is extensive. Let me just say that. It's really extensive, and I'm constantly seeing very similar um, omens and quotes between different cultures. And so right now, it's me in the next couple of months getting all of the information that I can from these open source documents, most of which have been created hundreds of years ago. So they're, in public archives. And or the translations of them into English have been public archives for quite a while, usually academically, supported in the past. And being able to classify them because there's so many nuances to these omens, and they come from all different directions, seriously. So really getting like a classification system down, and the amount of reference material that I have is just like, I think I have over 60 pieces right now, and I'm not entirely sure that I'm gonna get everything into this book. I'm absolutely going to try, but I do not want this first volume to be, like, over 400 pages either. I want it to be something that is relatively easy for people to, go through the index and see the different classifications for and be able to reference it as a guide as quick as possible. But there are so many different cultures. I've had to take out all of the foreign language from it and just keep everything into an English translation, and then reference the city, state, or the country that it came from. And not necessarily even, the time period, even though the references will be in there for it. Um, yeah, there's like a lot in this, but I easily see that with the amount of resource material that I've already found, it's entirely possible that there could be another volume to this in the future. But this will be an amazing staple as a guidebook for people. Like I said, the intention is to be able to thumb through it and to be able to see all of the different iterations of an omen, and how they might be nuanced between cultures or civilizations, and time periods. But I did look for specifically leaves or tree people, and there's a lot of information, and usually it's classified under more weather. So, case in point, right now I'm going through all of the 12 months and the days within the months. This is how exact omen science has been in the past and how much we actually participated with it. It's absolutely crazy. So, there were some days in the spring from like February to April where if I did a sourcing of leaves or trees, that particular types of trees would come up in association with particular holidays. And a lot of holidays are around like Christian holidays because a lot of this information has been being perpetuated during a height of that particular religion, but it's not exclusive. There's definitely Catholicism in there, there's definitely Jaiism in there, there's definitely Judaism in there. So it's mostly based under, and I'm putting it under a classification of, like months or days of the month or the seasons. But there are cross references just now that I'm finding about particular trees and about particular, types of situations around them, but it has to do more with the weather. So, windy weather is the one that started really producing more of the trees or the leaves. So now, even the conversation that I was having with you, Shanice, last week on Sunday has expanded my awareness even of itself, because I was like, okay, this could be coming from a lot of different ways. You have to sit with your instinct and intuition. And this is part of, like I guess you would say lesson planning, or a part of the sessions that I'm going to be holding, and the retreats that I'm holding, as to there's all these different orientations, and this Omen guidebook can help you see how many dimensions of orientation that some possible incident can have. But you have to use your instinct to really help guide you. And that's exactly what I've been doing. If I have a situation where a particular animal crosses my path, like even just up the hill, this last spring, I had a bobcat that crossed the path. And from far away, when I didn't have my glasses on, when I first saw this thing crossing the street, I thought it was like a standard poodle. It was so big. I mean, it was like a large dog-sized thing, right? And then I started looking at it, and it had the tufts on the ears, and I was just like, "Oh my god, that's like a bobcat, right?" And so I'm calling, like, Fish and Wildlife, and I'm just like, "There's a bobcat just, like, meandering through the neighborhood." And there's a lot of wildlife here because I live in the foothills outside of Seattle, and unfortunately, we've encroached more and more. Humans have encroached more and more on their natural habitat. But I've never, in all of the years that I've been here, which is since 2008 on and off, ever seen a bobcat. So I was calling Fish and Wildlife, and they're like, "Oh, well, if it's not a cougar or a bear, we don't care." Like, and that in and of itself, I was just like, "Really?" Because a bobcat can still attack things. But it was just like crossing the street. And so I went and I looked up. My first instinct was look up what the archetypal energy of this, animal is. But then what I realized is that, it felt to me that it was searching for food, and it hopped a fence. And so I kept thinking, oh, poor animal, if there's anybody's pet in the backyard around here, that's not going to be good. But I got this instinct of this animal. It was on a prowl to find something to eat, right? I guess I shouldn't say meandering. I mean, yeah, it kind of seemed like it was a little bit meandering, but the sense that I got from the animal was it was on the prowl. And so I looked up not only the energy of that animal, but then I started looking into, how does that animal hunt? And then instinctually, was thinking to myself, okay, the first thing that you need to do when you see something happen in front of you is you need to be thinking immediately, become aware of what you've been thinking up until that point. Because whatever it is that you have been thinking, that is what you're resonating at as an energy. And so an animal coming in like that, and let alone the other dimensional aspect of it doing something in particular. I've seen animals in mating rituals, I've seen animals, in hunting rituals. I've witnessed animals in a lot of different, ways. So there's that dimensionality immediately from that omen and what is happening in front of you, but it's matching where it is that you're vibrating from. And that is your instinct and your intuition immediately. So being able to become very aware of what it is that you're thinking as soon as you see something that is very different, very odd, that's the first level within yourself, too. A second level could be, what is my overarching emotional feeling right now? What is my overarching, mental focus been on right now? And that could be a lot larger of a time scope, right? For the last couple of months, you could be hunting for a job. You could be searching for something that you lost. You could be searching for a love partner, searching for a lost parent or friend. And so it depends on, this is where the dimensionality comes in, and how, like, omnidimensional authors are always pulling from so many dimensions of something, because the ability to, perceive and become aware of where something is coming from and why, that instinct, that intuition, when you're open to being able to receive it, and you're open to be able to be told, shown, an affirmation, telling of some kind, that's where, all of this is like interwoven. So even with leaves and even looking them up, I'm still finding that the categorization for trees and leaves is coming under weather. Now that might not be entirely true at this point because, like I said, I've sourced so many reference documents to write this book, and I've only been cross-referencing them as of lately because I'm trying to make sure that I get it into a final draft form by October and able to be uploaded onto Amazon for self-publishing. So there's probably a lot more information that I'm going to find, uh, without a doubt, because I haven't even went through all of the reference documents honestly right now, and that's what I'm in, the intention and focus to do, since I don't have any research for the next couple of months. But anyways, so yeah, I was finding more particulars about trees, and then there's a bunch of reference documents that I have for this book that are specifically about nature. So I didn't even get into those, but I just did like a general search of what it is that's already within the drafts. And I was finding particular civilizations, particular types of people and histories absolutely call more specific types of natural um, beingness. Cedar shows up a lot, oak shows up a lot. Olive trees show up a lot. That showed up even within goat and Capricornian omens. And I talked about that last week. So it's like the guidebook is going to be able to help in a lot of ways be able to reference certain things like immediately, but there's always, always, always going to be this reference. There's always going to be this reference of, let me see. I didn't see what you said. Um, Let me see. Oh, I'm kind of getting the hang of this, I think. Um, reading, oh, yeah, yeah. Well, thank you. I appreciate I was reading this comment that you left. I thank you always. Yes, I will probably put pre-orders up in October. I'm trusting. Um, this book I would definitely consider omnidimensional in a way. Actually, the paper that I just submitted for this course is about omnidimensional authors in reference to an omnidimensional author's piece called The Future of Poetry from Sri Aurobindo. So I am not going to be submitting that literature review for publication. So I will be putting that up in a video and also listing it on the website because I'm going to start listing off pieces of the omnidimensional authors canon on the Cannabis Tarot / the Academic Oracle website, so that people can start understanding this. And yes, I'm going to start going to poetry clubs and especially independent bookstores and start talking to people about this canon and about this new literary title. Um, that I've been putting together and really sourcing like a tremendous amount of people in. The Omen book, I'm still sitting with, the different classifications of omnidimensional authors because omens are definitely a part of alternative abilities. And that is, one of the main classifications of omnidimensional authors, that they're using alternative abilities, which is a whole gamut of different types of ineffable, spiritual, metaphysical, tools and mechanisms to receive information, receive visions and dreams and channeling or mediumship or discussions, communications with the ineffable, with different dimensions to then translate. That's the other mechanism and definition within omnidimensional authors, that they're translating it. Through their autonomy as a OA, we actually have legal precedence, which is amazing. And I'm going to talk about that in the next video that I do about this literature review of the future of poetry, because we have had legal precedents for over 100 years to be able to be the authority, the legal authority of a translated piece, which just blew my mind years ago when I started actually compiling the Omnidimensional Authors canon, because that in and of itself has framed so many different omnidimensional authors that I've found for the last century at least. And we go way back. I mean, we've been translating into some kind of literary form or oratory form forever. The, oracles at Delphi had oratory, translations, and people wrote those down, so it's been existing forever. But this book in particular, I mean, I guess I would classify it as an omnidimensional author piece because I'm doing it and it really has come through my practice of using alternative abilities, and it's what I'm going to be teaching. So, but there's always this like, what is the definition of omnidimensional authors or OAs? And then, is that piece, can it be considered an OA piece? Because not all omnidimensional authors, produce a literary piece or an oratory, media piece from those alternative abilities. There's a lot of them that don't. So it's definitely you can be classified as an omnidimensional author, but not all of your pieces or your publications are necessarily omnidimensional author pieces. So, anyways, it's gonna be fun. Thank you always for the support. I really appreciate it. And I'm probably going to end this here. I will try to send you some more of the specific DMs. And for anybody that's watching this, I'm trying to do this orientation, like this in the video formatting so that it shows up as a full video and not, an iPhone oriented, vertical video on YouTube. So thank you for your patience and helping me, work through this first YouTube live. But I do definitely think I want to do these on YouTube because I want this engagement with people, but I'm also using Instagram as more of a DM and a way for people to, become friends with me on that platform and DM me directly so that I can engage like their questions. So I will send, if I can find something that's particular, if you've diagnosed a particular tree or a particular leaf, or you feel that it's something that is more specific to a general classification, then let me know, because then I'll try and go through and search all of the references to see what might show up as omens, and I can supply those to you directly. But right now, what it had been showing up regarding leaves and trees had more to do with the wind aspect of stuff, and that's where that dimensionality comes in. What direction is this information coming into me, and where was I at that moment? Where was I overall in my thoughts and emotions? Where was I immediately, preceding that incident in my thoughts and emotions? And which dimension is this, incident coming in and affirming or, foretelling for me, with the appearance and the awareness of this. um, Tree name. Yeah, yeah, just DM me. So anybody that is watching this in the future, know that I'm trying to do these YouTube lives now going forward on Sundays, hopefully around 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, and that finding me on Instagram under Beautiful Existence. I'm literally the only one you'll see, omnidimensional authors, and that I'm doing my PhD in there and Cannabis Dro in my bio, to get involved with my private Instagram channel and DM me so that if there are specific things that you want to investigate, especially before the book is launched, or if in the future I'm working with you on sessions, I'm working with you, in poetry or literary circles with omnidimensional authorship, or if I'm working with you specifically with omens at some kind of retreat or workshop, it's going to be best to connect with me through Instagram, which I'm going to try and keep open as long as I can for people. And hopefully that isn't something that I'm going to have to, shut off. But I really do want to be able to help people send me pictures, send me incidents that happened for them, send me other possible omnidimensional authors or omnidimensional author pieces. And yeah, just continue to grow the information sharing with everybody. But I do it on Instagram, which is a private account, and you do have to friend me, or follow me to be able to start accessing, a direct messaging to me. But I already have a ton of people doing it. So like, it works for me right now. I think that that's the way I'm going to do it. Email gets really convoluted. I try to keep cannabistarot@gmail.com, which is the main email system on the cannabistarot.com website and the academic oracle, website. I keep that more for like newsletters, which I'll send out every once in a while when there's going to be something coming up, a session, a workshop, a new book publishing. So yeah, these are kind of the chosen channels right now to be able to start engaging. But if you send me the DMs and stuff, then it's something that I can, look into, research, follow up with people, and discuss it on the lives. Hopefully, that's my intention. So, anyways, I'm going to shut this off so that we can all get to our Sundays. Thank you so much for being here. And like I said, just DM me information as you receive it or as it comes across, and I'll continue to open this up. And if we want to have lives that talk more about omnidimensional authors, and you have a lot of poets or authors or oracles or mediums or channels that are producing literary pieces in some form, including even tarot cards, because that is definitely a tool and a mechanism for other people to be able to read, interpret, and use, just like literary pieces are. I'm starting to help people develop their own oracle decks. I'm starting to help a lot of people do a lot of things, and it's time. I've been told very specifically lately, it is time. So I'm here, and yeah, I'm open to receiving and having these discussions no matter where they need to go. So, anyways, have a great Sunday. Thanks for being here, and we'll see everybody very soon.